Hey X, I just wanted to say thank you for making me take my weight more seriously. I've been trying for years, but your advice has finally made me take it seriously. That is good to hear, Tron. That is awesome. Do you know what you've reminded me of? Okay, here in the UK, they're going to start tackling obesity and overweightness. And the reason that they are is because it's relating to coronavirus. Now, you would have heard me saying this months ago. It amazes me how far like governments or news agencies like the BBC can lag behind news sometimes. Like when COVID first broke out, like lots of health people and medical professionals were talking about how this is going to be a problem for people who are overweight. It puts you at risk, right? It was kind of already known. Geeko Rico says Corona has changed our world completely, hasn't it? It definitely has. It without a shadow of a doubt has. But it's, if our government is now taking obesity seriously because of COVID, we should have always been. It's always put you at risk. It's a health issue to be overweight. There is a ton of science around this. It's no mystery, it's no secret, and it should have been perhaps thought about earlier, which it was in certain communities and circles. Lots of the first things I was listening to in podcasts, in edutainment videos, the fact that being obese would put you at risk, was there. Vox in chat says news channels on YouTube can be weeks ahead of BBC on stories. Just have to learn which channels to trust, though. Definitely a good point. Lots of things get said before someone like the BBC picks it up. The thing is, though, we're talking months. We're literally talking, like, when this thing really hit and people took it seriously, I was hearing it a lot on the podcasts I listened to. Being overweight is not good. It's time to like sort out your diet and sort out your lifestyle, your exercise, because there's an increased risk. But there was always risk to being physically unhealthy. Pearson says, did you hear about the government trying to and falling to put a watershed on junk food ads to prevent children wanting junk food? That's what I was really pleased about, but I didn't hear that they failed. Apparently they succeeded. You're not allowed to advertise junk food until after 9 o'clock on telly, which is just, I've been wanting that for so long. Like seeing all these McDonald's adverts and pizza and all this rubbish food that, like, everyone can have a McDonald's once in a while and a pizza once in a while, but some people it's the whole of their diet. And just seeing how you get influenced at such a young age, that's the kind of legislation I've wanted to personally see. We can get into a discussion about the right to advertise and should the government be able to say, no, you can't have this food or not. But, like, that's a whole other discussion, right? I'm just saying from a medical standpoint, from a health and fitness standpoint, one of the things I would have liked to have seen for the longest time is junk food treated differently. They're even going to put calorie counts on takeaways, which I am so stoked for because I have to guesstimate all of my calories for when I have takeaway food, and I would love to know the actual numbers so I can eat more precisely. I can eat what I need to eat and know how much I'm going over or under, etc. Like I guesstimate a lot of takeaway food that I have, right? Like a pizza that I have is usually a whole pizza is going to be about 1,000 to 1,200 calories. A curry is more like 2,000, 2,500. But I would love to have the exacts, and apparently they're going to have to do that now. They're going to give people the information on how many calories the food has. So that's something I'm really pleased about. Better nutritional education at school and for parents should be standard. Definitely. I do think we don't actually need to be educated as much as you might think. I think everyone knows that they need to eat fresh fruit and vegetables. It's just difficult to do that when you're not used to doing it because, look, my favorite food, honest to God, is a salad. I love a big fat salad full of, anything. Radishes, beetroot, rocket lettuce. What else do I have? Celery, tomatoes, bell peppers, right? You can throw in stuff like eggs and cottage cheese in there. That's just my favorite meal because it's healthy, it's low calorie. I can eat one every day. It's absolutely massive. I fill up a fruit bowl full of food to eat, and then I feel very satisfied after. But I know that it takes time to get there. You have to eat that over and over again before it becomes enjoyable. And this is because your micro gut biome is in direct correlation to what kind of food you eat. If you start eating a particular type of food, just as an experiment, let's just say you start eating, oh, I don't know, let's something in chat, pumpkins, right? Let's say you start just eating pumpkin pie, right? And you're not that keen on it, but if you keep eating it, your microbiome will get used to it and then create food cravings for it. It's supposed to be how this stuff works. So you can kind of like, turn your dietary habits and then end up enjoying them. So I can understand if someone doesn't think like having a salad is like nice if you eat pizza all the time. That makes sense. But yeah, that's what puts people off, right? You get in the bad routine of eating bad stuff, and then like, of course you don't want to eat a salad. But this is why I like stay away from all sorts of treats and as much as I can, treats and junk food. I have my like one cheaty meal a week, if you like, where I have a curry or a pizza, or I had Chinese the other week. But that's it. I like avoid chocolates and sweets and candy as much as I can. Like, there are moments where I'll have one or two sweets here and there, but as much as I can, because I know if I just start eating it routinely, then it will become a craving as well, and then that's when it can be a bit of a problem. Ate ice cream night for the first time in a while, made me sick, says Disturb Puppy. I know that. Yeah, I have that trouble now as well. Whenever I have a sugary pudding, let's say I'm with the family, family meal on Sunday, that sort of thing, and I kind of look at it like, I know these sugary meals are just going to upset me, like, puddings and whatnot. So I tend to avoid ice cream, actually. Like, I love ice cream. The one place I'll definitely have a lot of it is if I go to Italy again. Like, when I go on holiday, I'm going to enjoy the food that is there, right? That is the time to indulge, And then when I come back, it's back to normal. But yeah, like, in your normal day-to-day, like, you have a lot of control over that routine. You can shape it. You can make it what it needs to be. When you go shopping, you can, in that moment, you have the choice to not pick up the unhealthy stuff. That's kind of my rule when I go shopping, is no unhealthy stuff. If you're out and about having a great day with friends, the ice cream truck rolls along, it's going to suck to not participate. So do it then. If you're going to give in, do it in that situation, right? But take control over your most normal, mundane, day-to-day routine and not have all that kind of snacky stuff in there. That's the way I do it anyway. In poorer socio-economic families, eating fast food regularly in their diet is the difference between being able to eat and feed their families and not being able to afford a proper meal. Harrow, that is a myth that I would like to dispel, but I do believe it can be regionally based. We've discussed this before, and some people have said, no, like, fresh fruit and veg is really expensive here. Where I am, people tell me it's expensive, but that's people that don't eat it. I eat it, and it's definitely cheaper, without a shadow of a doubt. When I eat junk food, it's definitely pricier than making your own food with fresh fruit and veg. The thing you save on is probably time, convenience and time. There's a point to be made about that. You can have pre-made meals that you chuck in the microwave, but it does certainly depend on region and how economics are set up. But don't make excuses for yourself. Right? Don't tell yourself it's beyond your control, because once you tell yourself, oh, I can't afford it, then you're putting up a potentially invisible barrier. It does not cost a lot to make a big fat salad that'll fill you up. That's like a couple of quid. Whereas, a junk food meal is of a similar price, but, you don't get as many calories or nutrition or value from it. Although sometimes you get calories, it depends on what it is. If you eat stuff like white breads and pastas and pastries, you can get a lot of calories from that. Aren't terribly nutritious. Anyway, it's been broken down quite a few times in edutainment videos and about studies that I've watched, where when you go and eat out, you're paying a lot more for your food, and the same thing kind of translates to microwavable meals as well. At least where I am, it is cheaper to get all the ingredients and make your own meal. If it is where I am, it is at least going to be for other people in the UK in certain regions. And so, hey, if that is the situation, that somehow it's really difficult to get fresh fruit and veg, then okay, that can happen. But don't make an excuse for yourself. Like, You want to take ownership of your own situation. And we started off talking about this because of the UK, right? Like the government's going to take on obesity. Boris Johnson said that his struggle with corona was definitely related to his weight. And I think it's great that he's saying that and that this is going to get addressed, because it's just been something that could have been addressed for the longest time, right? Could have already been a big thing that we take on and tackle. The health of people is directly related to activity and food, and we have a lot of sedentary lifestyles and plenty of availability for bad food decisions around us. So Zolo says laughs in London prices. Yeah, actually, when I travel to London, the food is like really expensive. I've never really calculated the difference between having a takeaway and buying there, but I was looking at King's Cross in the station at like the difference between getting some, well, not the difference, just I was looking at the like fresh fruit. Let me rephrase this. When I go to King's Cross, I get a meal ready to eat. Sometimes I go to like the M&S and I'll get fresh fruit and a little salad. That's really nice. But the prices of buying ordinary shopping stuff are like so high, it's absurd. I'm like, what? And I never really thought about how that relates to the also higher price of buying a meal that's already cooked for you, like a takeaway, a bento box, something like that, right? I've not really thought about comparing the two, but yeah, the prices go up in London for everything, really, didn't they? Now, when the government like steps in and tries to, tell people what to do, air quotes, people get defensive and say the government shouldn't tell me what to do. I'm not so sure I agree with that entirely. I don't think the government. There are certain lines where it seems kind of wrong, like if the government forced a diet upon you, like and made that law, but they're putting in guidelines and they're. Like, I think the rules around advertising is really fair. Like, the government shouldn't have the freedom to tell you what to do, right? Well, we should also realize that advertising is an influencing force trying to get you to do something as well. So regulating it makes total sense, right? There are things like car seat belts being illegal not to have, and, not allowed to advertise smoking and cigarettes anymore. Because why? Because, we realize we need this. If you let cigarette companies advertise, more people will die. Now, as we get more things right in society, we tend to focus in on, let's say, the more ambiguous and narrow of margins, right? Like, now we can look at people's food decisions and realize what you eat over your lifetime has an influence on when you might die or not. And then the government gets involved in that. It's a really tricky bunch of variables, I guess. But I think the government getting involved by setting out guidelines, changing advertising regulation, this is the way to do it. Making people aware that their diet is really important for their health. Educating as well would be a big part of it.